Hi guys. So someone sent me a question asking how to raise a strong-willed toddler, and I could tell by even just the mom's words that this toddler was pretty strong-willed. So I can tell you right now that I'm not going to be able to give you any specifics, tips or tricks or anything like that. Okay, I don't do those things because every kid, situation, parent is so different. And I'm sure you've had this experience where someone's like, I'm going to teach you how to get your kids to listen to you. And then as you listen to all the tips and tricks that they share, you're thinking like, that is not going to work for my kid. Like, that's just not going to work. That's not going to work. Oh, what a waste of time. So I don't like doing that. It doesn't work because everybody, you know your kid. You are the expert on your family. And if anything, it's just going to take time to think through. That is the number one thing I'll say. It takes time, and you're going to have to put some effort and maybe discuss with other people and just to gather some ideas and then sift through it all and figure out what works for you. The one thing about talking like with a topic like this, just keep in mind the terminology I use, because I could see it's just not politically correct these days to say some of the things I'm going to say. People freak out over it, and so therefore I don't like it, but it is what it is. So the whole point when people say like, how do I raise a strong-willed toddler? It is to have your child submit to your authority, right? That's what it comes down to. You tell them, go to bed. You know it's 9 o'clock. You know that they've got school the next day. And so how can you get them to go to bed? And you want to do this without turning everything into a battle. And that's important too. So why would they submit to you? Because you're the parent. So you have to figure out how to get there. And why people, I think, have a hard time is they don't know how to get there. Because it does take kind of sometimes like answering some hard questions. And the hardest question of all is, who has a stronger will, you or your child? Okay, a lot of parents can't admit that and they just can't think about it, but it's something that you have to be truthful for. Or you might be like, oh, they're definitely stronger than me. Then that's not good either, because now you're going to have to fix that. Because if you know that your child has a stronger will, or they are constantly running all over you, like you have a problem and you're going to have to fix it. And now is the time to fix it. Even though this is so hard for you, this is a self-growth part of mothering. Okay, you're going to have to exert your authority, your will, and you're going to have to make your will stronger than your child, because soon enough, your child is going to grow very, very quickly, and you will lose all semblance of parental authority. And I think like when I say have your child submit to your authority, it is a recognition that you have control, that you are smarter than them, that you have certain rules, and they're going to have to abide by these things. Just as we do anywhere else. We abide by the rules of our boss. We abide by the rules of the police. I mean, like, that's what we all do. And so your child has to learn that this applies at home too. And so if you know that your child's will is stronger than yours, and like you say, no candy, and they just go into the pantry and take it out and eat it, and you're just like, oh, I don't know what to do. You're going to have to fix that. Now, I am not against spanking, okay? It's funny because in school and when I was like in the community mental health center, it's so funny because they recognize that spanking is very common in certain cultures, but then in American culture we don't. But then, if it's like, I don't know, an American family, but basically like people who've lived here, they're just like, well, we don't do that. That's wrong. But then like if it's a person from a different culture, they're like, well, they spank their kids. And so I'm just going to say that I am not against spanking. The problem here, though, is that most parents do it out of frustration and impatience and anger. And that is where it is really wrong. You should not be hitting your child at all when you are feeling those kind of things, because you're doing it out of a rage. And why do people feel rage? Because they themselves feel so helpless. So what you're saying is, yeah, kid, you're stronger than me internally, and I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to bully you and I'm going to beat you. And even if you don't beat them, I'm just going to tell you right now, okay? Like, I'm just saying that's where it's coming from. You get angry and you're just like spanking them. And that is where I say you've already got a problem, because when they get big, you're not going to be able to spank them. And if you still haven't gotten their submission to your authority or their acceptance of your parent, being a parent, like you now have a huge problem with a 13, 14, 15-year-old, right? I mean, my sons grew past me. I'm not short. I'm 5'6", and they grew taller than me by the time they were 13, 14 years old. You can't. And after that, what am I going to do, right? And what is really sad is you will see that there are even parents and kids who have physical altercations, which is terrible. That should never happen. Never, ever, ever. But it does happen. But it's been brewing, and it's been in the making from when they were younger. So I'm just saying, like, be aware what you're doing when you choose to spank, which, like I said, I don't like it. I don't recommend it. So this is where it's going to go. So if you know that your child's will is stronger than you, then you have to figure out, how am I going to change myself, and how am I going to do this? And so a couple of things when it comes to that is, so think through your goals. Okay, so what is it that you want? I just want my kid to listen to me. No. In what kind of situations is it that they don't listen to you? Is it that they're always making you late? Is it that they refuse to eat their food? Like, what kind of things are going on right now? And write it all down, and how you need things to change. And also kind of think about how it could get really bad, like how it can get out of hand as they grow older, right? Like if they are refusing to listen to you and they throw a fit and they don't want to turn off the TV now as a 3-year-old, can you imagine what's going to happen when they are 10 and it's video games? Like, you're not going to have any control at that point, and it's going to be crazy. So kind of think through, what are your goals? Where do you want this to go? What's it going to look like? The next thing you're going to need is time. So if you decide, I am going to start working on, let's use throwing fits because you turn off the TV. I'm going to start working on this, then just understand it's going to take time. If you think you're going to work on it while dinner's on the table and you're calling everybody to the table and the child is refusing to come because they're watching TV, and you're going to just go turn it off, and that, no, it's not. You have to be prepared that this is going to take time, and block off that time, however long it may take. You may have to clear out your schedule of all the evening events and weekend events so that you can focus on this issue, and that you can do it patiently, because we tend to be impatient if, we don't have time and we're rushed and we're just like, get off the TV. We got to go to school, and I can't believe you're watching TV like that. So you're going to have to set aside time for that. You need to also get ready and have the patience just to wait it out. That is huge. I'll tell you that one of my sons, I have a pretty strong will, and the whole thing of like assessing who has a stronger will, you or your child, it really came to a head with this one, okay? Like my one kid. And I'm like, well, it's going to be me. And I remember I utilized timeout with him, and I let him eat or use the bathroom, but he had to go right back into timeout. And he had a standoff for 3 days. Yeah, he was willing to sit there. I mean, like, I left him in the corner of the kitchen, but he had to sit there, right? And I was shocked. I mean, I got to tell you, inside, I was just like, I cannot believe it. He could see his siblings playing. He could see the other fun things going on. And so you're going to have the patience. You're going to need to have patience to wait it out. And then you can manipulate these situations too, to the point of like, when will they break? Which is like maybe do a play date, like set up a play date or something that they're going to go crazy about. Like I've done that too. I've manipulated the situation where they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. I won't do it again. You see, like, you got to do what you got to do. But this is so much easier to do when they're under 5. You see, you can't do that as much with a 13-year-old. And so have the patience to wait it out. Another thing is, don't make this harder than it is. You can also remove the issue if you can remove the issue that's causing meltdowns, I highly recommend you do that, okay? Because you're going to have enough meltdowns as it is. So for example, if it's the TV, I would get rid of the TV. Or I would unplug it, or I would put a lock on it or something. And why I say this is that once there was a mom where she was saying that her son was constantly climbing over the furniture, the chest of drawers, and you know how like the drawers can like fall on you if you get too high. And I said, then get rid of the drawers. And she had never ever thought of that. there's going to be enough issues, but these days with like houses being so fancy and so many decorations, I do think that it's just not possible to have all that stuff. And so, like, get rid of it. If you have a china cabinet and it's filled with your grandmother's china and you are just hysterical because your sons are playing, Nerf swords, and you are terrified that it's going to break the china, I'm telling you, just go to U-Haul, buy some high quality packing materials, pack it up, and just put it away for now. Put it away until they are old enough where they're not goofing off like that, and you can put it back, and then you have just cut out so much stress right there. Why? Because why make it harder on the kids than it is? Like, if you have a boy, once I had boys, my daughter was pretty crazy too. I mean, like with her, she had a thing about touching electrical sockets. And if you tell me that children don't have a will, that's a lie. Then you have never worked with a child, because she was only like, by the time she was 6 months, she was crawling, and by 8 months, and I'd say, no, honey, you can't touch that. Like, she would like lick her finger and put her hand in there. And she even got to the point where she'd like look over her shoulder just to see where I was and just kind of like, scoot her back so I couldn't see what she was doing. That's what she was trying to do. I mean, she was like 8 months old. This baby couldn't even walk yet. And she already knew how to try to trick me, right? And then I have boys, and I have twin boys, and I grew up with all sisters, and my dad is more outdoorsy, so he took his energy out inside. So when he came outside, so when he came inside, he was just calm, because my dad chopped wood all the time. Now I know why. Outside, my boys were crazy. They were like just anything: Nerf guns, airsoft guns, sword fights, wrestling, constantly. And then you have all these boys over. And I'm never going to say no to a friend date, right? Like a play date. But when you've got like 4, 5, 6 boys, and I just don't want to be like, don't touch that, go outside. Like, oh my goodness, don't do that, be calm, because kids cannot be calm. And this is one of the biggest issues I have with school, because they expect kids to sit there. And so if your kid is in school and then they come home and they're wild, and then you've got a house full of expensive china and decorations, like, there's going to be a battle all the time. So just get rid of anything, or pack away that you can. Anything at all. Even like glass coffee tables. If that's what you have, just get rid of it. Okay, this is not worth rebuking, disciplining, yelling at your kids over. No material item is ever worth that. If they have a habit of always opening the door to strangers, get some double locks up on high. Like, I had my 3-year-old doing that, like always opening the door. And then we just put locks in. Just anything you can do to just, when you know that they're just being crazy kids, to child-proof your house. Okay? It's going to reduce it, and you're not always battling the wills over things that you don't need to. And I just feel like it's huge, because these days so many people have decorations, like so many decorations. I don't know how with little kids. Like, I could not do that. I could not do that at all. Be consistent with your consequences, so don't say things you don't mean. And this goes back to my first point, which is think through it. What are your goals and where do you want this to go? Be very consistent and just learn how to keep your mouth shut until you know what you're going to say. And then when you say it, you mean it. So if you're like, kids, I'm going to throw out your video game, and you know you're not going to, like, don't say that. But rather, first, go to the store, buy a lock, a safe, because I think now if I had little kids, I think that's what I would do. I think I would just buy a really big safe, and I would just store all their games and everything in there, and then just lock it up, so that we're not going to sneak out a game or just go play. I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm probably not going to get rid of it like that, but like I would put it away in a safe, and then it's done. And when it's time to play, we put it out, they play with it, and that's how I would do it. So think through your consequences. If you are going to take away the phone, have a backup. What are you going to do if they go out with their friend and you want them to have your phone? Do they get an Apple Watch so that they don't have anything else other than texting or calling? Kind of think it through, and you're going to have to spend time becoming like just setting like your iron will, where you are not going to bend. And eventually your kid is like, she's going to say no. Like, it's just not going to happen. This is how I say, try to work with a strong-willed child. You're not going to be able to yell and beat your teenagers into submission. It's not going to work. So looking at that future and saying, I don't want that, what are you going to do now? And it also does not mean negotiating everything. That's kind of one of the things I do have some some like concerns about parents who are like always negotiating with the little kids, because there's going to be times when you just say no and that's it. Like there's no negotiation, but then the kid throws up in, they're like, oh, I can tell that you're not happy about this. Like, what can, maybe you can get this instead of that. Like sometimes there's just no negotiation. And that's where, like I said, people might not like the word, but it's a submission to your will. It's a submission to the parental authority, which sometimes it has to be done. Okay, they have to learn that. One thing, though, I will share with you that I learned later on, that when I read it, I really liked it. My kids were already too old for this, but if I had read it when they were younger, I would have probably implemented it like this. I kind of did, but not knowing it. But this was more specific and it laid it out, and that was called tomato staking. And the whole idea behind it is, when a child is severe, really disobedient, or you need to change their behavior, you just keep them with you. Keep them with you 24/7 if you can't. And now you've got a situation if they're gone all the time. So this is why when they're a toddler and they're home with you more, hopefully you can deal with it. But keep them with you, and they are not allowed to run off. They have to stay with you as you go to the laundry, to the washer dryer. They go with you. As you go to the kitchen to cook, they have to sit by your feet, or you pull up a chair, and they are not allowed to leave your side. And then if a sibling comes to play with them while you are there, like while the disciplined child is with the parent, they can play, but the mom is there, or the dad, to constantly correct them immediately as the infraction occurs. And so I was like, oh, that's really smart. I think I would have done that. Right? Like I had shared with the timeout, you can manipulate the situation. My kid is in timeout and they are refusing to bend, so what do? I manipulate it by bringing a friend or something over that they can't participate in, and then they break. And I thought that this was very similar, and I thought that that was a great idea, and I could definitely see it working. I believe it was in a book somewhere, but one of those like really conservative Christian books that was self-published, that kind of things. I don't remember where I got it. I don't have the book anymore. If you just look up tomato staking with children, the reason why I can't fully like throw my weight behind it is because I don't remember the rest of the book. I don't know what it said. So they could have like crazy things in it that I don't agree with anymore. Just remember that I've been reading for a long time, and with a book, like I just take out like one or two ideas and then that's it. And then I don't keep books. Like I get rid of them. I give them away. I sell them or whatever. And so I can't go back and look at it and vouch for the rest of the book. But just know that practice of tomato staking, keeping the kid with you when they've misbehaved, and just keeping them with you so that you can consistently correct their behavior, I thought that was a great idea. Okay, so create a list of my favorite parenting and homeschooling books. In terms of, I don't have a lot, that's all. And that sounds like how to homeschool. I would have to just say the Susan Wise Bauer, The Well-Trained Mind. I have always said that that's just like the top book I have, but everything else I don't really know, and I don't remember because it's been such a long time, and so I don't feel right. So even when I say The Well-Trained Mind, I always say the first edition, so I don't really feel comfortable recommending a lot of those books because I don't remember a lot of them. In terms of parenting books, again, I didn't like a lot of the parenting books I read. There were always some good ideas here and there, but to be able to recommend a whole book, I would always disagree with something. And I don't know if that's me. It might be me, so it's harder for me to say. How does this work with a new sibling and having to share attention? When you have a new baby, that is hard. The first one could be thrilled, or they could be really sad. I know that with my own daughter, she was grieved because she lost me, and it wasn't even like one baby where she had two. Like I had twins, and so I always said that before, at least you could have like your toddler and your baby, one on each arm, but she just lost it completely because I had both the babies. And so the best thing there was that Daddy spent a lot more time with her, of course, did more things with her. Their relationship was forged in that. And then also to spend time apart and separate from the babies with just her, and that was very helpful. And that would usually happen when they were napping, and I would be able to just spend that one-on-one time with her. But in terms of getting rid of stuff so that if they're going crazy while you're taking care of the baby, I highly recommend that, especially if you've got now 2 kids and they are climbing the walls and going all over your stuff. Like you're not going to be able to handle all that. It's going to be just a lot of craziness. And so make it easier on yourself. If it does not serve you, get rid of it. So I hope that helped. I'm going to tag the person who asked the question. I wish you guys the best. I am going to be doing another live answering all the homeschool questions I got, and that hopefully people will find that helpful too. Take care. Bye.